Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Job Title. Today, we are being joined by Saurabh Jyot, who works as a digital marketing manager. Welcome, Saurabh, to the show.
Thanks, Manmeet. Thanks for having me.
So, Saurabh, could you give us an overview of what is digital marketing manager all about?
Yeah, sure. Before that, I'll just like to take you through a brief journey of my career thus far. So, I've not
Okay.
always been a digital marketing manager. It actually started from FMCG. So, as we went campus together, you remember that I got through with my placement at Nestle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually worked at Nestle for quite a long time. According to my career trajectory, it's a long time, might not be for others. So, I was there
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. Then, actually, my digital marketing journey started when I switched my first job. That was at Citibank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I actually switched from the traditional marketing things like, newspaper advertisements, TV
Mm-hmm.
advertisements. Those are traditional ways of doing marketing. At that point in time, then when I joined Citibank, it just opened up a world of opportunities for me, and it just seems like like opening up a Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people say stuff like digital marketing, but they don't quite understand what it entails. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my job to sort of take viewers through what digital marketing is. So essentially, what digital marketing is, the biggest benefit of digital marketing versus a traditional marketing sort of paradigm is that you can be much sharper in your targeting towards your audiences. You can
Mm-hmm.
use platforms like Facebook, you can use platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, you can use platforms like Google CPC. So these are all just different ways of reaching your target audience.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to put an analogy is that it's not different. The messaging remains the same. It's not like you're gonna sort of put some kind of magic spell into your digital marketing campaigns, which it's gonna work out for you. So the similar message, what you do in sort of traditional media, which is your TV, newspaper adverts, and stuff like that, you can have a similar messaging, but it's just that digital allows you to be much more targeted in your approach. So when people ask me what's the definition of marketing, actually, this is not defined anywhere in Kotlin or anything, but what I've learned from my experience is it's actually sending out your messaging to
Mm-hmm.
as many of your target group for as least cost as possible, which is what I've learned through my experience with digital marketing. So that really helps you to sort of focus your spends as well as a marketer, because in the new reality, marketing and business can't be separated. Honestly, you have to be a PnL leader along with being a marketing leader as well. So that's the new reality. You have to keep an eye out on the spends. And yes, that's what the beauty of digital marketing is. It allows you to reach out to as many of your target group for the least possible cost and in a much more targeted way. Yeah. Within digital marketing, there are different aspects as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just divide it into B2B and B2C. Obviously, I'll talk about B2C from my previous experience. So in a B2C setup, so there's a separate team for engagement
Mm-hmm.
and there's a separate team for retention. Now, engagement and awareness is a separate activity. Retention is a separate activity. Let me try my best to explain in as simple words as possible what that is. So awareness building, of course, as the name says, is awareness and conversion. Sorry, yeah, conversion. We have to talk about conversions. Business is the ultimate metric at the end of the day. So awareness slash conversion is when you actually reach out to a customer for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and then you try to convert them for the first time, right? So very simple example, Manmeet. So I am a shampoo brand which has just, my dad had a factory. Now I'm a new age entrepreneur. I just got the idea and can sell this online. I'll just try to use Facebook marketing, influencer marketing, Google CPC marketing to reach out to you. Suppose you are my sort of ideal target customer. You'll see a lot of these advertisements. Then one day you'll get not frustrated. One day you'll get inquisitive and you'll just click on this link and you end up on the website, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now you're still a prospect for me, unless until you buy something from me, you're still a prospect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I have to build prospect journeys. So now that you're there, so just in case you are sort of very interested in buying something, you add something to your cart, right? A typical
Mm-hmm.
behavior
Mm-hmm.
from sort of online customer, you add something to your cart. Now I have the sort of right tools and journeys built that I know that you add something to your cart. I'll just keep on messaging you again, remind you. If you have not bought it for 2 or 3 weeks, I'll say something like, hey, let me put a 10% discount on this. Are you convinced to buy it now? Right? All right, it's in the cart. Even if you're not added to cart, you'll end up on my landing page. There's something called as retargeting pixels on different platforms. So you have Google retargeting, you have Facebook retargeting. What I'll do is I'll just annoy the hell out of you by my retargeting ads. And then when Manmeet is finally convinced to buy my shampoo, he becomes a customer, right? So now so the awareness slash sort of revenue building team has done their part, right? Now what happens to Manmeet? He's bought from us once, right? So there's only finite number of people in the world. If everyone buys my product once, that's not a right business model. They need to repeat their purchases, isn't it? So once you bought from me, now you as a customer get passed on to the sort of retention team. Now retention, as the name implies, is retaining the same customer to buy from us again. So now you become part of my email journeys, where I have exclusive offers for you because you bought from me once, right? We have your email ID now, so that's the sort of really wizardy part. So we can send out nice little email campaigns to you. We have your phone number as well. We can send out some WhatsApp communication to you. We can send out, you were already within our database. We already have all the information. We can target you on different platforms. So now the second and so on further purchases that are going to be in place are courtesy the retention team. So they essentially retain the customer base. So those are the broad two classifications from a D2C or B2C digital marketing perspective that, essentially that's a broad structure there is. Of course, there's more to it than meets the eye as well. There's a big influence of influencer marketing these days. I know it's a buzzword, but we tend to use influencer marketing as an ROI-driven channel as well. So if you're actually paying out 500 quid to an influencer, you give him coupon codes, and if people see that video and end up using his coupon codes to purchase from the website, so that's a decent way to measure the ROI from the influencer marketing campaigns as well, right? So yeah, those are the sort of things you would do in B2C. Let's come to B2B. B2B is essentially lead generation, and the platforms change slightly. So you are more towards using email marketing and LinkedIn marketing as your primary sort of sources of awareness driving, because essentially it's a business to business sort of communication, as the name suggests, right? So and if I sort of try to target you on Google at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, you'll be more pissed than happy that why is this guy reaching out to me for a business proposition at 10 p.m. on Saturday night, right? So it has to be done within the working business hours. That's very important to keep in mind. It has to be done to probably the official communication email IDs of their company email IDs as well. From the customer perspective, LinkedIn allows you to target people by their sort of which company they're in, which industry they're in, their seniority level as well. So it becomes a bit professional in a sense of targeting as well, in terms of the messaging as well. So you can't really use emojis and smileys and stuff like that. At least I don't. Trying to talk to people at the level of deans, university VCs, pro VCs, and stuff like that, right? So you can't really be using a smiley and a wink face and all that. At least I don't think it's appropriate. Yeah. So email marketing takes lead within this as well. So you would have heard of things like Salesforce, for example, right? I think it's a big buzzword. Salesforce essentially is sort of platforms which allow you to capture all your leads and sort of work on them in a central repository. So you know that you had probably like 50 leads in the past 2 months, right? Now you can actually nurture your leads and update the sort of status in Salesforce, and you can do Salesforce CRM activities as well from using Salesforce. You can do wonderful things from Salesforce. I think that's an amazing platform for people who don't know. Especially for me, it's the first time using it, so I'm finding it very useful as a sort of CRM tool as well. So yeah, I mean, then there's something I learned called Pardot, which is an email management system. Again, wonderful tool. You can actually create new emails. You can sort of send it out, resend. You can control who doesn't receive the second email and stuff like that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
On that, LinkedIn is what happens on everyday basis as well. So LinkedIn provides some wonderful targeting options as well to you. So yeah, I think the prime objective changes if you're considering going back to the original question.
Mm-hmm.
I think here I would be helping someone else convert a business, whereas in the previous sort of B2C example, I was primarily responsible for the customer journey end to end
Mm-hmm.
from the discovery stage up till they end up buying the product. Here, what I do is essentially collect as many leads as possible and pass it on to the sales team and assist them in the final conversion of the opportunities.
Nice, nice. So you gave us a background of your journey, which started with a traditional MBA, landing in a marketing job, and then switching over to digital side of marketing. If
Yeah.
somebody who's aspiring to be a digital marketeer, if he wants to get into this field, is could you possibly outline a series of steps he could or she could take to get into this field, a sort of a career
Yeah,
map?
sure, sure. To be honest with you, my career map has not been the most favorable one from perspective of top MBA grad. But on the flip side, it has helped me to gain a very wide set of
Mhm.
skill sets, right? So for somebody who's right now in probably campus, who's looking to make a career in digital marketing, my advice would be a bit different, yeah. If you want to be a marketer, I think setting the basics in place are very important for you from perspective of understanding the consumers, understanding the messaging, understanding what needs to be said when, right? So
Mhm.
I would actually advise someone to take up a traditional marketing role in the beginning of their careers, like at least spend 3 to 4 years in a good FMCG or even a good e-com company for that matter. I mean, a
Mm.
lot of companies these days like Amazon and even in tech company, Meta or Google, stuff like that. So just before you claim to be a digital marketer, I think
Mhm.
understand the basics of marketing, of consumers, of communication, of product market fit, and all these basic concepts should be sort of considered. So I'd recommend someone to get a couple of years in, try to understand the basics of marketing, basics of consumer behavior, basics of stuff like what time to run campaigns at, what would be the right sort of time to pull back on the campaigns as well, right? Just get the basics in, and then there are two parts, honestly, which I feel these days. So I'm in touch with my colleagues from Nestle as well, still, who I've joined with, and they've been telling me there's a separate now e-com team. There's a separate sort of D2C team there as well.
Mm.
So a lot of these big organizations also you can find roles which will sort of lend themselves towards a digital marketing role. So it's not necessarily you have to switch to a new age sort of company to get these sort of learnings. But yes, don't compromise on the basics and just call yourself a digital marketer. I think there's more to it than meets the eye. A lot of people
Mm.
get dissuaded by calling themselves a digital marketer straight out of campus. But the journey is much more complex than people would like to think. In case you
Mm.
have to be if you're building yourself to be a CMO, a new age CMO,
Mhm.
sometime in the future, then if you don't have the basics in place of marketing, then I'm sorry. I mean, there's just no escaping the basics. Unfortunately,
Mm.
I've been fortunate enough to have had a good grounding in the basics of marketing and then sort of progressing my career. Yeah, that's my advice. Just don't compromise on the basics
Mhm.
and keep learning. Secondly, I think there's lots of certifications and coursework that people can do which would they would consider that let me do a course and become a digital marketer. My advice is experience is the best thing that you can do. Like
Mhm.
take an actual job where you learn it on the job, and that's I think the best way to approach it. Honestly, courses can only get you as far. I mean, honestly, you won't be able to crack an interview even if you don't have actual experience of the job
Mm.
digital marketing role.
Is there any easy way out to gain some experience, be it through internships or any other small odd jobs in this field?
Um, Yes, they are, but I would rather recommend a full-time role because internships. I mean, we've both been through internships during our campus time, haven't we?
Mm,
I mean, interns, they would just let you touch the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? I mean, it'll be all sort of like a bookish knowledge for you.
mm,
But I think, other than that, I think what this allows beautifully is so at the moment you can actually spend some of your own money, set up a Facebook advertising account, spend some of your own money. You can set up
mm,
a Google Ads account and just start experimenting with it. I think that's the
mm,
best thing. Don't depend on anyone else to teach you these things. Is my best sort of advice in case you're not in a job which involves a digital marketing role.
mm,
Just set up your own ad accounts. LinkedIn allows you to set up your own ad account and just experiment with it. I mean, there is no stopping you,
mm.
honestly.
Maybe set
So
up a small drop shipping store.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that could be done. For example, I could, if I'm a manufacturer of these mugs, I could
Mm,
just sell 100 of these on Amazon within a week. I mean,
mm,
nobody's stopping you, right?
mhm,
So just
mhm,
go ahead and be more enterprising in stuff. Be more sort of inquisitive about stuff, and just don't drop jargons. Just try to understand each and every aspect of
mhm,
what happens. Actually, that's the best part. I mean, people tend to be, especially so for someone fresh out of campus, they tend to be sort of disappear in this world of jargons, don't they? Like
mm,
landing page, click rate optimization,
mhm,
conversion rate optimization, and stuff. SEO. I tell you this one, Mamit. There's probably 100 people who tell you they understand SEO. And
mhm,
99% of them would be lying at this moment. It's not
mm,
sort of a tall claim to make. So just
mm,
understand the basics, and yeah, just sort of go from there. There's no escaping the basics. And as we were talking about, you can set up your own ad accounts for as low as spend like probably 100 quid and
mhm,
get your accounts active on all these platforms and just start
mhm, mhm.
away, right?
Good. So let's transition into more of your day-to-day work. What does a typical day in your shoes look like? How do you start? What all activities or tasks you do? Could you
Sure.
give us an
So I'll
overview of that?
just, yeah, in my current role, so I've actually done both B2C and currently my role is more of a B2B sort of marketing role.
B to B.
B2B, yeah. It's currently a B2B sort of digital marketing role. Earlier, it used to be B2C.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just, for the benefit of our viewers, just try to explain as simply as possible what
Mm-hmm.
those are. So I was actually leading the marketing growth function for a D2C brand.
Mm-hmm.
D2C means direct to consumer. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, consumers just buy directly from the website,
Mm-hmm.
and all the middlemen like distributors and retail stores are taken out of the picture. So what benefit that gives is you can actually just pass on the price benefit to the consumers as well, and you can build a loyal customer base of your own. That's D2C in a nutshell for you. What
Mm-hmm.
that is, D2C, for example, the customers would be you target them on social platforms like Instagram, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Google, because essentially they're just customers like you and me, aren't they? And even in a non-office environment, if I receive a message for something which is for personal consumption, it's advertising, isn't it? I mean, you could receive a digital ad on Facebook at 8
Mm-hmm.
p.m. in the night
Mm-hmm.
for a new brand of t-shirts, can't you? So that's essentially D2C targeting, which I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Currently in a B2B role. So I'm actually working in an organization which reaches out to higher education institutes in the UK. So right now we are primarily a big name in the UK. What my role is trying to expand that to international markets.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually responsible for spreading the sort of brand awareness amongst the key stakeholders in higher education institutes in Asia Pacific, in Middle East, and Africa. So what I essentially do is a typical day in the life looks like setting up some campaigns. Email marketing is a big part of what I do. LinkedIn marketing is a big part of what I do. Right. Secondly, what also happens side by side is now we have Middle East as a focus area. So I'm actually in the process of setting up an Arabic website for the Middle East. Right. I'm in the process of actually setting up a sort of Cantonese website for targeting customers in China. I'm in the process of setting up various events sorry, events on local level, or some PR activities at local level, which would essentially spread the brand awareness for what we do amongst the higher education institute or higher management, that is. Let's assume like it starts off with 9 to 9:30 is usually a daily stand-up meeting in which the team discusses what they're doing throughout the day and throughout the week. 9:30, probably make myself a quick cup of coffee, come back to my desk at about 9:45, just get on started with the campaigns, just review the campaigns for the previous week, how they've performed, have a couple of meetings with the management, as in what the strategy for the regions is, have a couple of meetings with the local business development teams, which we have in the Middle East and Asia Pacific, and let them know what sort of campaigns we are doing. So what it does is essentially assume you are the sort of target party for me. So you receive a couple of email and a couple of LinkedIn ads from me. So now you know about what we do. Now, what I'll do is I'll ask the business development team to then sort of reach out to you in person, and then that sort of becomes a lead, and they do a follow up on the lead, if you understand what I'm saying. So essentially, a big part of it is increasing brand awareness and capturing leads, which are then passed on to the sales team, who then action on it to sort of develop a new business relation. So essentially, it's all about setting up campaigns, reviewing campaigns. But the important part is that even though it's a digital marketing role, the human to human sort of interaction is even more than a B2C role, because essentially what you are responsible for is passing on leads to the sales team and ultimately them being successful in front of the customer and converting that lead, right? So that's actually, even though it's a digital marketing role, but the human to human interaction part is really important as well. So you can't say, you can't be locked up in a cave and say, oh, I'm a digital marketer, I've done my bit. Yeah, so I can't do that. I have to be responsible for, it's sort of like you're pulling the strings for the business in a sense, right? So you're passing on the leads, you're passing on the information to the higher management, you're responsible for the brand development in that particular region of the world. You're then sort of giving new ideas as to how you can optimize your sort of marketing strategies in those regions. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I mean, honestly, every day is different, and that's what I currently love about my job. There's no fixed pattern to it. Like how probably your dads used to work in like the same company for 40 years, and they used to do the same thing probably every day. So it's a bit more exciting than that. Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Saurabh, for sharing those insights. If I have to ask you, what are some of the things which you like in the job? What are the challenges and what are your dislikes about the role? What would you say?
Well, I can't openly talk about the dislikes on public forum, can I? So we'll just go ahead and talk about what are the things I like and challenges. Yeah, we can talk about the challenges as well. So what I like about my job is essentially it's new thing for me, B2B marketing on to C side, which I thought was very challenging. Obviously, just growing the business and being in the startups sort of space for the last 5 years, uh, have been under a lot of pressure to deliver always. Like, was part of the startup called Mama Earth as well. So it's a very results driven industry, the startups industry, right? Yeah, one thing I like about is challenges, honestly, challenges itself. So a new industry for me, like education is something I haven't worked in before. I was like a kid out of campus, even despite having 10 years of experience in marketing. I was like a kid out of campus when I joined this company and this industry. Just get to learn every day a lot, right? And one piece of advice, I know I sound like a sadhu or a sage giving this, but never close yourself to learning opportunities, honestly, because I think the day you really die as a professional is when you have the attitude that I know it all. That sort of, I don't know, I don't know any examples, but could be the day that your sort of growth sort of dies down as well. So I just try to keep that sponge attitude despite spending so much time after campus in the industry. Just be like a sponge, and that's what really excites me. It's been 3 months in this role as of now, but I still learn some new things every day. Honestly, the second best thing is I have a great set of colleagues, which I'm currently working with, and it's an eclectic mix. So the marketing director is person who's 57 years old. He is obviously 30 plus years experience in the industry. Have people who just fresh out of campus, couple of years out of campus as well. Just an eclectic mix in the team as well. So what to do is put a new age perspective to the right way of doing things as well. So, for example, you're sometimes sending out communication to university students. So it helps that having people in those shoes who were there a couple of years ago to tell us how to mold that. And when it comes to the marketing director, obviously, he sort of knows the right approach to talk to university VCs, pro VCs, and stuff like that. So it's really energetic mix,
Yep.
eclectic mix, and it's a great learning experience every day as well. Secondly, I think what happens is that our company is probably the top education software provider to universities in the UK at the moment. What my role is essentially to expand the business internationally and but sitting out the UK. So that's the challenging and the exciting part as well. So I'm not the fancy sort of business class travel to these locations, wearing suits and just meeting these people in person. Not that fancy. So my role is be sitting out of the UK, but still expanding business internationally by reaching out to those people. And that's what the beauty of digital marketing, isn't it? I mean, they're receiving some communication, but honestly, they wouldn't be able to pinpoint that some guy sitting out of the UK on a rainy day is sending me these messages, isn't it? Like somebody who is sitting in the Middle East in 50 degrees temperature and communication from England on a rainy day. So that's the beauty of digital. So that international expansion, it's a really exciting phase for the company, and that's sort of something that excites me. If I'd be able to play a role in terms of expanding the footprint of the organization internationally, I think it's a brilliant opportunity for me. Yeah, I mean, for some reason, I just like the challenge and the ability to prove myself in different environments. I think I've done a decent job thus far in different companies, different sectors, and yeah, this just comes as a big challenge for me. And honestly, if it wasn't something new, probably I wouldn't wake up excited every day to do something new.
Nice, nice. So, Saurav, if we look at digital marketing as a field, what are the core skill sets somebody should have to excel in this area?
So skill sets, yeah. I mean, fair to say that you are sort of not supposed to be the jack of all trades in this one.
Mm-hmm.
If you do treat yourself like one, you will be lost because every tool and every step has so many sort of intricacies, right? So, what are skills and skill sets you asked, right? As I mentioned, I'll just take this, so I'll bifurcate these as well, right? If you're a D2C sort of marketer, obviously, analytics is a big part of it, right? You have to be able to process and analyze a large set of data. That'll be a part of your daily job. So Google Analytics is one tool which comes in really handy for that, right? It'll tell you how many people have visited your website, how many conversions have happened, and stuff like that. Another skill set, so just talking about broad skill set, I won't go specifics into like Excel or PowerPoint. These are not skill sets in my, they are considered skill set in the West, but they're just supposed to be mandatory when we were studying in India, wasn't it? Like, so I won't mention that as a skill set. Other than that, you need to have a sort of mental mapping in your mind of consumer journeys, right? For example, you need to have in your mind stuff like if a customer is interacting with me for the first time today, what will happen in the next 90 days? If he doesn't purchase from me in the next 90 days, what activities am I going to sort of plan to get him to convert, right? So you have to be really good at analyzing and implementing consumer journeys. So basically, you design those journeys in your mind. You how to put them into actual execution is a big part, right? So how you use Google Analytics, how you use Google CPC marketing. Another thing is obviously spend planning is very right. So there is a metric called as CAC, right? It's called cost of acquiring customer, right? So basically, you have to keep an eye on CAC as well. I mean, if your blended CAC is supposed to be $500, you can't really be spending like $1,500 to acquire a special set of customers, right? So you have to keep an eye on the budget planning as well. That all your different activities that you're doing during these 90 days that we talked about, you have to be within the budget. And sometimes you have to get let go as well. You have to learn to let go as well. You can't be so rigid that, oh, I'm doing all these brilliant activities, I'll definitely get these customers. Only the CAC will go up by, it'll become twice. That's not how it works, right? So budget planning is a big part of it. Targeting options, yes, that's something very important. Just read up a lot as well on what tools you're using, right? For example, there's something called as Google Display Network, right, which offers you various targeting options. It can even, for example, you've been browsing, say, holidays for the last 3 weeks on your Google search. Google has the ability to sort of put you into a pool of customers which are more likely to be receptive to, if you're a travel brand, to buy tickets. So it can give you that kind of information. So just be aware. And these tools are very sort of, they change themselves. They sort of not reinvent. They come with new sort of options every 6 months. It's a tech world after all. So you have to keep yourself updated on all the updates in the tools you're using as well. So for example, Google rather bought a tool called DV360, which is sort of campaign management tool. So now you can have all Google inventory controlled by a single platform. Whereas earlier you would have to do a separate YouTube campaign, you'd have to do a separate JDN campaign, you'll have to do a separate search campaign, right? So yeah, that's one of the skill sets. Just be inquisitive, just read a lot. Other than that, as I said, you decide for yourself which is the best platform for you, and just make sure you are sort of reading up about it, right? The beauty of these platforms are they're self sort of learning as well. So it's plain English, Manmeet. At the end of the day, there's no Egyptian symbols you have to decode, right? If you play with them enough, if you experiment enough, you're just going to learn new things. That's there. Yeah, I think that's the basics covered. So tools are something which can be picked up by anyone. Just figure out what the right sort of marketing mix is for your campaign. Are you big on Google? Are you going to be big on YouTube? Just figure out the marketing mix. Be intuitive. Just read up a lot about what your tool offers. A campaign sort of budget management, as I mentioned, is very important from a CAC perspective as well. And yeah, I mean, just be inquisitive at all times. That's what I'd say.
Good, thank you. Right, Saurabh, so moving on, if you have to think on your career journey and recollect one particular advice which helped you a lot in your career, what would that be?
Yeah, I definitely remember the advice, but I'm not sure I heeded to the advice in the best possible way. But anyways, so this was actually in Nestle when the head of business. So I was a part of the dairy business unit. So the head of the business saw that I was really restless person. I just wanted to do more all the time, and just take up work and try to be involved in everything. Then what he said was actually it still makes sense to this day, and any field or any sort of company. He told me that your career is not a sprint, dear boy. It's a marathon, right? And I didn't realize the value of that at that time until, of course, I started growing some white hair and some back pain. That's when I started to realize the value of this word. And yeah, I think that still holds true. We do tend to get, blindsided by a lot of fancy titles and a lot of fancy sort of, business travel, which other people or some of our colleagues might be doing, some of our batchmates might be doing, right? Fancy title like president, head, somebody might become the president of the US for, in the near future, right? So finally, when I started to have sort of have less of an impact, these things have less of an impact on what I was doing. That's when I started getting some mental peace, and that's when I started to truly know that I have a unique path in life. I don't necessarily need to follow suit. I don't need to be a head of marketing by 35. I don't need to be a CMO by 40 to just prove my worth to people, right? It's just a question of being content with yourself and just being very sure of the choices that you've made for yourself, right? I think that's the sort of beauty of life and beauty of everyone has a different journey. So yes, just remember, and when I say that it's a marathon which has its own unique course for everyone. It's not necessarily, so if you've ever seen a marathon, Manmeet, somebody finishes in 2 hours. Somebody like me would probably finish it in 2 days at the current state that I'm in. But hey, I've finished the marathon, haven't I? And I've just created my own unique path. But the importance is just being sort of striving for that finishing point, and it's different for everyone, right? So yeah, it's a marathon. Don't just get too worried about things in terms of, hey, I've not reached this stage. You know how it works in the part of the world where you're from, like 25, you got your first nice job. 30, you bought your first nice car. 35, you bought your first nice house and stuff like that. Similar for career as well. People attach like titles to their success stories. But no, I guess I would like to call myself successful at this moment. 99% of the people might disagree with me, but I don't actually care. It's my own unique journey, and just follow your own path. Don't worry about what other people are doing. I mean, the present is, I think, the best part of your life, and just make sure you live it like that, even from a career perspective. I mean, just learn, just be happy every day, just be curious, and just follow your own path. Yeah.
Sure. So that was a great advice given to you by your mentor. If I have
Yeah.
to ask you, if there is one advice you would like to give the viewers, would that be the same, or would you like to add something else as well?
Yes. I guess I'll just divulge a bit from the previous advice. I would just like to say that just do what makes you happy and content.
Mm-hmm.
Even from a career perspective. Don't follow the tried and tested cobble road path that everybody else is following.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done that. The best thing for others' perspective about my career could have been, I could have still been working with Nestle at this point in time. It's like just one of those companies where people spend like 20, 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
or they used to at least, right? So I could have been there. I could have been, become like, taken my tiffin, gone to office, did something, come back. That could have been my life. But I chose a sort of rather adventurous path as compared to some of my batchmates who done pretty well for themselves in life, right? But yeah, I guess just choose your own part, do your own thing, do what makes you happy, and when it's like you've been in the UK for a long time, I've just moved. So like what it is. Just be yourself. I guess that's the best advice I can give to someone. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have no regrets that you didn't attempt it if when you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
So, in the sense of what is your view of what future entails in digital marketing field? What kind of career option, growth opportunities there are? How do you see that planning over next couple of years?
Um, See, I wouldn't claim to be an industry expert of any sort, but I think
Mm,
what's happening slowly is, especially in the UK, like there's no sort of predefined companies or courses you need to do to build yourself as a
mm,
digital marketer. That's
mm,
the more beautiful part about being here rather than being
mm,
back in India, where you need to have a high-end degree, or some work ex in some big company to actually make a claim for a.
mm,
Here, I think people are more receptive about you having new ideas and you being willing to put in the effort.
mm,
Obviously, you need some sort of skill set to clear the interviews, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of people in the traditional marketing roles
mhm,
also trying to learn digital as well.
mhm, mhm,
And secondly, what's going to happen is the UK is at the stage of sort of the economy where startups are becoming a big part of the economy as well. So you're going to see a lot of these new age startups opening up. You're going to see a lot of these new age startups bringing out digital marketing rules because
mm,
they've sort of obviously there's a brick and mortar model to everything and there's the digital marketing model to everything, so a
mm,
lot of new opportunities and new companies are going to open up as well. So yeah, if there's any sort of people who are in the universities at the moment, if there's any people who are just starting off the first second year of their jobs in the marketing role,
mhm,
I think just building up your skill set. uh, Honestly, you can't do a role obviously while you are in your current role. You can do a digital role, but just some certifications would help. Certifications are actually treated in good stead in the UK. So if you've done an online course from, say, Coursera or something, I think it is considered as a good enough starting point in the UK. If you sort of shown that sort of shows that you have an inquisitiveness to get into this field, I think that's a good starting point. Second good starting point would be just as a piece of advice. So if you're a new marketer who's just been in the industry for 3 to 4 years or even 2 to 3 years, there is sort of Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK. I think it'd be worthy enough to do some sort of course from there. Also, you can apply for a membership at an associate level as well. You can write to them and try it. So I just applied for that. I am now a member. So it's called an MCIM. Essentially, I know, despite sounding like a fancy, some royal title, what it actually does is it puts you in a network of other people who are essentially, wanted to grow their career in marketing, right? So it's called the Chartered Institute of Marketing. For all the people who are seeing this, just check this out. It's like a good community of people who have experience, people who are just starting out as well, and people who have been stalwarts of the industry. So they come out with different events, they come out with different networking opportunities as well. They provide you some amazing sort of access to courses as well. So that would really help as well. And just follow some senior marketing leaders on LinkedIn as well. I mean, uh, they do write some good stuff from time to time. It's sort of a discovery method for me as well. So just keep your eye out for some of the leaders in the marketing spheres in the country. Like, for example, I've been following a couple of people who are not like household names, but they provide brilliant insights into AI, brilliant insights into ChatGPT, brilliant insights into, just general digital marketing stuff, measurement of campaigns, stuff like that. So just keep your eyes open and your minds open as well. And that's it.
Good. In terms of managing personal life, so work-life balance, how difficult or easy it is in your role as a digital marketing manager?
It can get challenging at times. For example, yesterday by the time I finished work, I was absolutely drained, mentally exhausted, right? And it's just you have to keep an eye out on different systems, different numbers all the time, right? So people would think a digital marketing job is just you set up the campaign, you just now seeing how it will do in some future timeline. That's not the case. You tend to get a bit overwhelmed as times as well. So yeah, it's not the sort of, what should I say? It's not the simplest or the most easiest job in the world if you do it correctly. I mean, there's always option to you to just set up the campaign and just sit and relax. Uh, Being myself, just keep an eye out on different platforms, different things that are happening. What more we can do? Yeah, that's very important. I just keep an eye out on what more we can do, how we can improve things, why don't we try new things, stuff like that. Yeah. So if you love your job, it won't seem like a chore to you, but yes, you'll be sort of physically exhausted by the end of the day. Yeah. So it can get pretty challenging at times. I would love to say that it's very easy, but that's not the truth, and won't like to sort of misguide some of people who say this. But yeah, it can get challenging, but it's rewarding at the same time because some of the new initiatives that you do and you see the results. That's the best feeling of euphoria you can get.
Sure. Thank you so much. With that, we come to the end of the show. It was a pleasure having you on the show, Saurabh. Thanks for sharing insights with all our audiences. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure, mate. Thank you so much, Manmit.
Thank you.